Hey everyone, so today we'll be setting up your own home cloud using Nextcloud. Basically, you'll get for free Dropbox, a Trello, Google Calendar, and whatever another app that you want to use from their community. And of course, they also have available apps that you can use for your laptop or for iOS and Android, so you can just get your files there as well. We will start by setting up Traefik, which will listen for my cloud.pedrocamacho.com.pt, which is my domain, and from there we will route to Nextcloud, and of course using Traefik we will get the Let's Encrypt certificates set up for free, and of course then Nextcloud will be serving our files. We will also be mounting two volumes in the Docker Compose so that we can basically store a volume into my NAS, which will be the data one and another one for the backups. And pretty much then you only need to back up your NAS because Nextcloud will be always saving to your NAS, either the data or the backups. So basically that's it. Let's go. So now, as you can see, like here, I am connected through Visual Studio Code. I'm connected to my server at this IP address, and then of course I can have access to a particular folder there, and there you can see that I have a Docker Compose file and a couple of services and configurations for Traefik. Traefik is our reverse proxy, and I use it to route everything that comes into these ports. It will be routed by this reverse proxy, and of course, maybe in a future video I will dive into how to set it up at the router level, how to set up the domain at your domain provider, and then how to make it possible that you route it to your home network. But today we will focus on setting up the reverse proxy and the Nextcloud stuff. So reverse proxy is basically used for that. So it opens these two ports, and from there it will decide, depending on your endpoint, whatever it should redirect to. So for example, in my case, cloud.pedrocamacho.com.pt will go into my cloud or my Nextcloud setup. So here, that's what we are saying. Then this command is basically here to open the dashboard ports. So for example, here at the 9999 at the host, mapping to the 8080 at the Docker container. Here you will see basically the dashboard, the Traefik dashboard. And here you see that we are basically mapping in the volume, we are mapping in the Docker container, in this path, there will be Traefik configurations, and here at the host, so basically here will be also the files will be there. So for example, in this case, Traefik YAML is there, which is the configuration, Nextcloud is there. So the files that are in this directory will map to this one, which is where Traefik will take a look into when it runs. Then here we have a couple of things for SSL certs, and here it's the Docker stuff. So next one is Nextcloud, which is the service we are more interested in. So here we are using all-in-one image. And why? Because this one basically gives for free a lot of stuff. Like this image or this container will have and spin up other containers. So basically databases, they spin up domain check stuff, backup images for or containers to do backups and all of that. So basically they already configured a lot of stuff for you, and then we need to tweak a couple of things, which are the difficult part, because even though there are not that much things to find these and to set it up, it was not easy. So maybe this helps you. So basically here what I'm doing is I need to specify this name for the container. That's one thing that you need to do. Then this one also needs to be exactly like this, which is basically doing the same as we did on Traefik. So the mnt docker.io config folder at the Docker container level will be mapped to this volume here in the host. So then you have access to all configurations there. And then this port, basically the 8080, is open for setting up the Nextcloud stuff. And then for maintenance, basically you also use that one. And on the environment level, there's a couple of things that you really need to do. So first of them, and the most basic is, like there's a ton of stuff here, but the most basic are these ones. So the Apache port needs to be 11,000, and the Apache API binding 0000. Skip domain validation needs to be true. At least I never made it work without these two true, and this one is at the setup level, so not after. So the skip domain validation is only when you are setting up, then you skip the domain validation, and if you put the correct domain, then you know that it will work, and that's the trick. And then the Nextcloud data dir or data directory, basically it's pointing to volume, and I will explain why I'm pointing it to a volume, because I'm taking into consideration backups, and I think you should do the same. And so basically this will be really nice because we will be connected to our network, to our NAS. And basically then backups should be only at the NAS level, and I don't need to worry about it, because then my data will always be on my NAS and my NAS will be backed up, so then I'm good. And so the networks also need to be the same. So this is the Traefik network which I created, and so these Nextcloud and these reverse proxy need to be on the same. And then we have volumes, which are the important part. So one of them is the master container, which is for Nextcloud to work. And then we have a couple of others. So this one, data directory, is basically a volume, which I am using SAMBA for it. So basically I have a username and I have a password. Then you need to specify this. These are things that you need to put there, like the file mode, the mode, and the UID and the GID. So user ID and group ID. This needs to match, otherwise you will have warnings on the logs. You really need to do it. And the username and password is basically the username and the password that you set up when you set up your NAS. And your NAS, we can think about doing a video in the future for thinking about the NAS. If you don't have one, you can also just put normal volume without these, and then you have it locally. But the good thing about this one is that I don't have it at the server level, so the data is at the NAS level, and then I do backups at the NAS level. So then even if the server blows up or something like that, then all data is safe. So for now we will go with this one, because I think this should be the way, and not locally in the server. And then this one also, it's the backup dir. So basically we can do backups using Borg in the Nextcloud image, and basically they do it for free. So there's stuff there. But what I do here is that I create these volume specifically targeting a specific folder on my NAS, and that one will be the Nextcloud backup. And with this, basically what I'm saying is that everything that all backups will go into this one, which is nice because all your data will be backed up. And then you do backup on NAS, and also the NAS and the data and the backup will be basically replicated or also backed up from the NAS. So you have the NAS, and then you have a backup for the NAS, and then yeah, you are safe, I think. That's it. So now the thing is, we have this is what you need for setting up the Traefik and the Nextcloud, but there's this configuration which I'm loading, and I'm loading that basically when I do these one mapping here, right? The Traefik, etc. Traefik. So this Nextcloud is here, and that one will say to Traefik that it should create a router Nextcloud, which will use these hosts basically to route to the Nextcloud service, and that service will be here. And we use a couple of middlewares, and we also say that it should basically use the cert resolver production, and this one is for certificates, which basically are let's encrypt certificates. And these services, this is really needed, and that's one of the needed stuff for make it work. So basically we are saying that everything that comes to these URLs, and of course you can choose your domain, right? And whatever you want, you can put Nextcloud, Cloud, whatever you prefer, but I chose these ones. And basically now I'm routing it to the server at the port 11,000. And as you can see, the 11,000 basically it's the Apache port, and Apache basically is a web server, right? And that's where they serve Nextcloud. And so then this stuff you also can do. So you basically set up a couple of middlewares where you basically say that the X forwarded host should be there, and then you also say that it should redirect to HTTPS, and these are the Nextcloud chain middleware. So the HTTPS redirect and then the Nextcloud secure header. So both, all of them are applied, and the Nextcloud chain is basically here. So then the middlewares will be a chain of middlewares which are applied to this one. And the cert resolver is basically the production one. So now let's go to actually not the Nextcloud configuration, Traefik configuration, but the Traefik configuration itself. And the Traefik configuration itself basically has some things like global, check new version, send anonymous usage, false. Servers transport insecure, skip, verify. And then we have entry points, HTTP address, and then 80, and then we redirect to HTTPS. Then we say what port are we talking about when we talk about HTTPS, then the providers, and there's this important thing, which is you are basically saying to Traefik like, okay, Traefik, please load whatever configuration you have at this path, load it, which is this Nextcloud. And watch through. If you change Nextcloud, then it will just pick it up and update. So then we have Docker, and this is also nice because we need to say that Docker is watching. So basically it's also saying that it basically watches all your services that you spin up on Docker Compose, and after that it tries to be smart, even though here we are not specifically using it, but then it also adds a network, which is the network that we are basically using. And then here we have the API, and we are saying that, yeah, please spin up the dashboard, and the log level will be info. And then the most important part is the certificates resolvers, which is the one that we are using for creating the SSL certificates. And basically here you need to only specify this stuff, and the CA server needs to change depending on if you are staging or if you are in production. But of course we are using production because yeah, that's we are not testing it anymore. So that's it. And if you do this, then you get Let's Encrypt certificates for free. And that's the nice part, because Traefik will take care of that. So every time you spin up, it will try to renew them. Every time you spin up, and if there's nothing there, it will try to create one for you for the specific endpoint. So for example, in this case, cloud.pedrocamacho.com.pt. And pretty much these are the configurations, which you can also take a look into GitHub repo to check it. And now we can spin up the Docker Compose and see and basically set up everything. Let's go. So now I'm on the terminal, and I'm on the same folder where we were on Visual Studio Code. And now what I will do is just say Docker Compose, and then we build the whole thing, and then we detach, and let's see. We did it wrongly because Docker Compose needs to have up, and then network traffic. Yeah, that's correct. So first I need to create the network, which is a manual step. Then it should work now. Perfect. It's creating everything. So now if I do Docker PS, I have Traefik and I have Nextcloud all in one. So they are working. And then of course, if you do volume ls, there's a couple of volumes already created. So our data dir, our backup dir, and the master container. The data dir is already specified on Docker Compose and on Nextcloud to be used, but the backup dir, we will need to use it later on when we set it up. Now here at this level, you see that I'm connected to my NAS, and here you see that the NC folder that we saw before and the backup and data are empty basically, right? So there's nothing there. The thing is, backup will be used for the backups, of course, and the data will be used for what? For the data. So let's go. Now here, I need to connect to my server, and that will be here at the port 8080. And now we can go and we get a bad request, which is perfect, because now if you need to force it to HTTPS. Now you force it and now you get your connection is not private. So why did you try to force it? And now I need to proceed to unsafe, and boom, Nextcloud stuff appears. You need to copy this password, and I will copy it on the side. Then we can what? Open Nextcloud. Let's paste the password and log in. Let's wait a bit. And here it starts the fun part. So first you have a couple of configurations and documentation links, which you can take a look. And then you have also this one. Here I need to specify the correct path for that will be used in the future, and you cannot mess that up. So this is it. And this is the one where we are skipping the validation. So I'm submitting it, but I'm skipping basically the validation. So we will also always accept. Now I'm removing Nextcloud Talk because I don't use it. But of course you can select whatever you want here, but these ones I use, so I will save changes. And now we can go down, and of course here I will also say that my time zone is changed, so submit time zone, because I'm based on the Netherlands. So now it's basically set up, the first part, and we need to download and start containers. Basically now Nextcloud will spin up other containers that needs to work, and they basically it's databases and all of that stuff that it needs to, and also the web server, for example, that it needs to basically show you the Nextcloud dashboard and all of that. So let's wait a bit and I will come back. Perfect. So now Nextcloud is installed. There's still some setup to do. So here you have your admin user. Please copy paste somewhere and save it so that you don't lose it. I'm doing the same. Now you also have this part, which is the documentation. It's still there. Now you know that all containers are running, and then you can stop containers. And now we start on another nice part, which is the backup and restore. So here for the backup, I need to get the volume that we created. So basically what you do is you copy paste this one, and then you go there and you paste it, and then you submit backup location. So this is the volume and the backup location, and that's done. So now you can create backups, you can reset backup location, and you can also change the password, the first password that we used. And that's nice because you will always when you need to do some management, you will always need to change it. For now I'm keeping the same, but of course you can do it, submit password change, that's done. And then we have the optional containers, which you can also start or not, and pretty much that's done. So we can open our Nextcloud, and now I open it, and let's see, it takes a bit of time. Now I know that we have our admin and we have our password, and I do login. Takes a bit. Psst, consider subscribing and hitting the notifications button if you want to receive updates when I release new content. If you are liking the video, also give a thumbs up and share, because more people can benefit from having Nextcloud in their home servers and basically save some money. Thanks a lot. It means a lot. I appreciate it. And then it should be there, and we can see how this works. So it's loading now. Nextcloud, welcome. Nice. Now you have the dashboard and you have files, for example. Let's go to files. Now we see that there are some predefined files or some custom stuff here. So you have a image, all of that stuff. And now the question is, where are these files saved? And if I go here to data, I see that on admin, I have some files, and these are the files. So the data is basically now being served from my NAS. And Nextcloud is using this folder, which we set up for storing all data. If you create another user, you will be basically creating another tab. Let's do that. So now if I want to create a new user, I basically come here and I go to users. Of course, do not forget to do a backup first time that you load this, because now I'm skipping that part, but we should do a backup, and I will do a backup a bit after. But if you want to be safe, do it before. Now I'm creating a new user, so I'll say Pedro, display name Pedro, password. Yeah, that's fine. Then let's put my email, and then let's put the group, which will be the admin. And there's no default quota, so unlimited, select user manager, yeah, whatever, admin, and then add new user. Oh, I need a better password, of course. And then add a new user. That's nice. Now it will fail, I think, first. Oh, no, it didn't fail. Okay, cool. So now we have a new user. And what I will also do is I will go here, because you should also do that. You go to administration settings, and now you go to security at the administration level, and you will enforce two-factor authentication. Please do this. And then if you don't select any groups, exclude, whatever, then everyone needs to enable. So let's save changes. And how do they enforce that? Let's try to see. I will basically log out from my admin user because I am not anymore. Then I will do Pedro, and I will log in into my user. Let's see. Now it should log in, and then it will force me to use two-factor authentication. Let's start to prepare that. So now, as you see, there's setup two-factor authentication. And what you can see is you can select this one, and you will get a nice authenticator app where you can scan the QR code. Now, if you have iPhone, Android, you can get Google Authenticator, for example. I use that one, but there's a ton of other that you can also use. Then you basically set it up like scan a QR code, and now I just scan the QR code, and I will see that now I have some Nextcloud for codes for my Nextcloud, and I will just add it here. So I verify, and ba-boom, two-factor authentication is enabled for your account. So then let's log in, and again I need to have another code. Okay, they swapped the code, so 0, 9, and let's go. Boom. Now I'm logging in as a user. And of course you also get, since it's the first time, and of course you also get new files, the same default files, so to say. Now let's go back and see what changed here. So I have now a folder called Pedro, which is the new user, and some files which are the same default files. But of course, if I go back and let's see here, for example, I create a new folder. Let's name it Cloud. Now I create one folder named Cloud, then I go there and I create an empty text file, empty. Let's go. Yeah, you can use that one. And of course, you also can enable basically edit it on the fly, but I will just cancel it. And now let's go back and see that now I should have a folder which is Cloud and with an empty file. Everything basically on my NAS. And this is the way they set it up. So then all users will be will have a folder here and all their files here as well. So what I also want to show you is that you can now for free also go to Deck, for example, and then you can also create, for example, your personal boards. So let's create here, for example, groceries. So then you have this one, and of course you can put buy, something like that, and then you have a list where you can create some cards. Let's add potatoes. Then you can buy potatoes, right? So this is a nice app, then you have notes, you have calendar, for example. You can also explore it. You can add events here, for example, here, create YouTube video, save, done. My calendar is updated. And of course, you can also update and create different calendars. And then, of course, you can also sync these calendars with your laptops or phones. So that's cool. But let's not dive that much into it. I just wanted to show you around that you have files, and all of that is now on the data folder. And of course, if you want to back it up, you need to go back to this one. And when you come here, somewhere on the backup information, you also need to copy this one and go and save it for later, because you will need this key to back up and use your backups when something goes wrong with the Nextcloud server. So now what we are saying is that we are storing all in backups into one volume in our NAS. And here you can also say create backup, and you can also when you create backup, so for example the first one we will create now, and it will take a bit, but then you can also add other volumes that you want to back up. Let's wait a bit. Okay, cool. So now the backup was successfully done. So last backup was successful, and now here you have also the same options. But there's another thing, which is you can now check the backup integrity, and you can also see that you can now restore selected backups. And this is a little bit down. You also have a nice feature, which is you can say that every 3 in the morning you will do a daily backup. So they will do it immediately and automatically at 3 a.m. So update all containers, the master container and on center is your Nextcloud apps. Okay, sounds good. Send notifications about successful backend, sounds good. And here as well, you can also back up different volumes. So here, for example, if you would create, let me say, for example, if you create directly into Nextcloud SAMBA share, which we can create next just for you to know, you can also set a backup or a volume into Docker Compose. So for example, here you would put another one of these, but pointing to a different folder, for example. And that folder would be the one that you create on your Nextcloud, pointing to the same one. And then you just say to which volume to back up. And of course, if you back up the volume, you are actually also backing up the SAMBA share. But what I think is, I will show you how to do that, but I think you don't need it, because if you have a backup folder now and the data folder now, I guess you are covered, right? Because the data folders of the different users will be in your NAS, and also the backup will be in your NAS. So you are covered. So you should do the backups at the NAS level. So you have the information at your NAS, and then you have an external backup, and then you should be covered. But still, if you want to directly create SAMBA shares into your Nextcloud, then that's a nice way to do it. And of course, this you still can do, and all of that. Yeah, so we are covered here. And of course, now you have a backup, and I want to, let's see, start containers. And in the meanwhile, I will show you here at the backup level. Now you have also backup and Borg. Borg is the tool that they use for doing the backups. And of course, here you also have data, and these files you cannot directly touch them, of course, because these are used by the backup tool. But this one is a nice way of backing up. And then, of course, for example, if I delete any file here, then I will be able to retrieve it if I run the backup. So now I am reloading the containers, and it will take a bit of time, and then let's delete the file. Okay, perfect. All containers are up and running again. We did a backup. Now we don't need any more to do backups manually, because at 3 a.m. every day it will be backed up automatically, so everything will go down. But 3 a.m. I think you are not working or doing anything, but of course you can also just change to whatever time you want, but then no downtime for you. And of course now everything is running, so I can go to my cloud URL and see my files. And what I want to do now is go to, for example, this cloud folder, and let's do something like, by mistake, we can, yeah, let's delete this one. And oops, deleted. So now, no more file at the data level, right? So in here, I have my files, then cloud is empty, right? These are the defaults. But now what we want to do, guess what? We will go here to the backup, and we will also go here, and we see this one, which was done before we deleted now the file, and I will say restore selected backup. And it will take a bit more time, but then hopefully we will get our file back. Okay, cool. So now everything, the restore was successful. Basically, you see it here. You can see the logs, and you need to manually start the containers. So now I'm starting them, and after we should see our file there. Let's wait a little bit more. Everything up and running again. So now I can open Cloud again, and let's see. We are on the Cloud folder, and now guess what? Empty file is back. So the backup worked. And of course, now everything is as it was before. So now what we can, what I wanted also to show you is how to go about the SAMBA shares if you want to use them still, even though you are now backing up everything to your NAS. What we can do is basically search for external storage support, and then here you will see that you can enable it. And if you do, now we need to specify the password, of course, for the user that is logged in. Then we confirm, then it gets loaded and enabled. And after that, you will see that you can go to here and administration settings, and you can also take a look, and now you see external storage. So now I can add a folder, and let's see, I will add cloud, for example, and I add storage, which will be SMB. And of course here you can also do a lot of them, right? So there's different Amazon S3, you can either even connect to Nextcloud, FTP, all of that you can do, so it's also nice. But for now I will explain this one. So the host will be 170. Then I know that the share is PC, and then the remote folder will be Nextcloud, then let's say cloud, for example. Then I need to select what is this? Type to select user or group. Yeah, this will be for this user, for example, and I will use same username. So yes, okay. And then allow users to mount external storage. Beep, 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 beep. I don't think we need this. And then I do, yes, didn't work. Why it didn't work? I think it's because I don't have this folder there. So let's now go here and create the folder, which was cloud. And now there's a cloud folder there. So now if I try, nope, still not. Maybe the password. Also not. So 170. Oops, mistake. It's not 70, it's 50. My NAS is at 50, so it should be fine now. Yes, now it's fine. Okay, So because my server is just 70, but the NAS is at 50, so then you need to change because now you are specifying the NAS endpoint, right? So then the whole thing was there. Now we have this, and if I go to files, now you will see that there's now a SAMBA share there. So let's take a look. Cloud one, you see this different icon. If I go to cloud, and now if I create a new folder, for example, and I call it test, then I will see a folder here. And now I should go here and I have a test folder. So this is another way where you can use the SAMBA shares within your network to specify and get some data for here, for example. I would say if you have another NAS or something like that that you also want to connect to, or I don't know, but at least you already know how to set it up. And of course you can always remove it when you don't need it. So another thing I want to show you is that you have a ton of apps done by the community, right? And you can basically see that a lot of them are already kind of enabled, and you can see them all here, but there's other things that are not enabled, for example. And you can search for games, you can search a lot of stuff here, which is nice. And of course you can always try to contribute. Maybe in the future I will contribute here some things. I guess I can I guess it should probably be possible to contribute here, so that's nice. Developer documentation, so I guess so. And this is nice also probably to take a look. And of course, another thing is the GitHub repo. And here you get the Nextcloud all-in-one, which is basically the one we are using. And a lot of stuff is here. So you can dive into these and try to see how can you use further Nextcloud. And I spent a bit of time to set this up, but mainly because sometimes you find the right information here, sometimes you don't, and you need to try, and then it's trial and error and stuff like that. But I hope that at least now it's a little bit more easy for you. But of course, there are probably some other things that I didn't think about, at least for now, and maybe you do. So please also, if so, give just pinpoint that in the channel or comments, and feel free. But another thing that I would like to, at least in this one, which I think it's nice, is the reset part. So if I search for reset, then you will see how to properly reset the instance. So for example, if you mess up in your configuration, if you mess up in Docker, then you can always follow these to basically remove everything that you need to remove to make it work again and to try again the whole thing that I mentioned. So if you do this, you will be basically stopping all containers, you will be deleting all volumes, and basically you will also get rid of the network. Then you create the whole thing again, and you can also prune the images. So basically get rid of all images that you used. This is a nice one to follow while you set it up. Maybe, and I think that you will not need this because now you have a kind of a tutorial where you can basically do it in once, and basically you can also I saved you a bit of time because whatever you need to put where and how, then it's explained here, so that's nice. But be mindful that you need to be careful about the volumes that you delete, because if you delete volumes that you are using for other stuff, you will also lose that data. So be careful. And when you set it up the first time, I advise you to set it up, then don't use your data immediately, right? Use it like during a week or so that you understand how to do things and that it's properly backed up, it's properly in your NAS and all of that. Use it a bit without important information, and then you can jump and do the right stuff. And of course, while you set it up, also do the same so that you can test with dummy files or dummy folders. But this is a nice one, which I needed to use. Then the backup, I think you are covered with what I explained, but there's a lot of stuff here going on that you can also take a look. And of course, Google is also your best friend. So if you have any doubt or something like that, then go to Google and try to figure. But now I think you pretty much will be covered and be able to use your Nextcloud from now on. Well, I almost forgot. You have also Nextcloud apps, right? In your Android phone, iOS, or even desktop. So now you are seeing the web Nextcloud. But I can also go here to Nextcloud, the Nextcloud app. Yeah, Google it and install it. And then you can log in. And now here you can do like this, right? Because you have it, at least I have it at this endpoint. So now if I hit next, it will load this web page at this endpoint. And of course you can read it a bit and then log in. And if I log in, I need to put my user. And then of course I can log in and wait a bit, because maybe now I need, yeah, I don't want to save it now because this is, but I need to get my code. So 163.341, submit. And now I grant access to it. And let's see, account connected. So now what I can do is I can go here and let's see. So if I go to Nextcloud, switch your browser to connect, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So now I will choose a different folder. Let me create a new folder, Nextcloud, boom, then open, then it will use Nextcloud. And of course we say that we want to synchronize everything and connect. So now it's offline, now it's connected and it's syncing. So if I go now to here, I will have Nextcloud, and there you have it in your local laptop. And of course you get the empty file that we created and the cloud folder and basically the documents and all of the other stuff that was there by default. So that's nice, because now you can also have connection to your Nextcloud environment through the laptop. And so you also have basically the files in your local system. So you synced everything. And then of course, if I delete here, then it gets deleted there. But yeah, you know it goes. It's like basically your Dropbox or something like that. And of course, you can do it the same for Android application or iOS application. You have all them available. So feel free to go and check it out. But the process of setting it up pretty much is the same. You put the endpoint, you put your password, your user. You if you enable the two-factor authentication stuff, you will need to put the code and scan the QR code, or scan the QR code and put the code, and then you are good to go. And you will also get your files into your mobile phones or laptops, and yeah, pretty much that's it. Perfect. So if you made it this far, I hope that your Nextcloud is up and running and that you can access all your data across all your devices. You are saving more money, you have more control over your data. What else do you want, right? So in this video, I also assumed that first, you have a domain, you can route it to your home networks and use it. And I also assume that you have a NAS where we back up data and backups. So if not, don't worry, maybe in the future I will be covering it. And pretty much that's it. As always, if you have any suggestion or thoughts, please leave them in the comments down below. Till next time, keep in the loop.